Hello, everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn, and thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching live, we do have live chat. So if you'd like to jump in and say hello, that's always great to see who's tuning in. We're live on Behance, and we are live on YouTube today. We had a fantastic stream yesterday with Joy, who is joining us in just a second. If you want to find that on replay, we'll put a link to that down in the description. You can go and check that out. We might reference a few things that we did or Joy did yesterday, so we'll just make sure that we link that. But without further ado, hello Joy, welcome back to Adobe Live.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. You are an artist, you are from Melbourne. We did a quick little kind of elevator pitch before. We've done quite a few streams, I think, over the years, so if people are really interested, they can go back, they can search your name, and they can find a whole bunch of those, often around generative art, generative AI, but in particular, I think, is kind of using, like, going from tactile, physical, I know the pottery and painting, and then kind of bringing it into the digital space, and then, you know, remixing and doing things with generative AI and all sorts of different digital tools, which is super cool. Yesterday was so interesting. I love experimenting. I love kind of being at the forefront of Firefly boards and all the changes that have been happening recently. And I am pumped. I know you're excited. We were chatting about what we're going to do, so I'm really excited to see what we get up to today.
Yes, very excited. I think building on from yesterday's custom model, I thought we could explore some of the, I guess, all the different options that's now available through Adobe Firefly, whether it's on the board or just generating video itself, because now there's all these different models where previously I would have to kind of jump from different models to model to find the right one for what I'm wanting to create, especially if I'm creating quick animations or things for social media, stuff I just want to kind of test really quickly. And then certain models have different pros and cons. So I thought, while we have people watching who might not have as many credits as me, but also who haven't tried some of the models, or maybe they're just sticking to Firefly because they're used to it, to kind of test some of the different ones. And I guess I can go through why you choose one over the other for certain aspects, and then we can see some of the results that I've pre-generated to save everyone some time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I love that. It's always a question, isn't it? It's like, how much does this cost? You know, and it does change all the time as well. So depending on when you're watching this, always double check. Kind of usually there's always an indicator of how many credits things cost and all that sort of stuff. I know it gets a bit confusing. I get a bit confused too, but just be careful if you don't want to kind of burn through them really quickly, because you can definitely do that with video, with some of the apps. Everything's changing all the time. I think we're talking about Sora got like shut down like yesterday.
You can still use it at the moment, which I've done a couple of exports just to see, because I find Sora stuff really out there in terms of the variety it gives you. Like, it'll cross-cut to different things that you haven't asked for, which sometimes is definitely not what you want. But sometimes if you're just experimenting, wanting different angles or different views, you're like, oh, I haven't thought about this way, or give you some other ideation prompts.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, so yeah, as we said, it's an ever evolving kind of thing that's going on here. But let's jump into it today. And we are in Firefly boards, and if people aren't familiar, you can just use any browser to get to this, and you can access this and follow along if you like, or sit back and watch.
Cool. Yeah. So I think I've done a lot of exports in terms of comparing all the different video models. So I think that way it'll save us a lot of time generating during the stream. And that way I can kind of quickly talk through some of the processes, but also if anyone has any questions, I can answer straight away. This one was a video I shared on my socials. So it literally took me maybe a couple of generations. And then I joined them on Instagram edits, exported it straight away. It took a couple of minutes. So this was a post I shared on my socials this morning for linking to this live, and it's really easy to loop. So I won't go into details of looping, but very quickly, you just need to match the first frame to the last frame. So whatever you start with, you end with. And the easiest way to do that is if you have two images that you want to transition between, you use the first one as your first frame, this one as your second frame, and then you do the same thing again, but you use this one as the first frame and then this one as the second frame. So then you've got two videos that technically connect. And then once you've got the two exports and they look quite seamless, you just join them together. By adjusting the speed, you can potentially speed ramp them to change the feel so it doesn't feel very stagnant in terms of the speed that you've asked for. Or even when you're prompting, you can export it in maybe 4 seconds instead of the longer format. So then you have a bit more variety in terms of the generated speed of motion within your image. So this is the first one that I got. This one came with sound because Vio's one's got sound, and then this is the second one. And these were just the first generations. Like I didn't even try to be really scriptive to make it look really cool. I just wanted really quick, really simple. Anyone can do this if you've got two images that you want to connect. I think the thing to be mindful of with the images you want to loop, these have very similar backgrounds. So it's not adding more information for the background for it to think about how to connect these pieces. And the composition is relatively similar. So it's not going to do a jump cut to the end. Because sometimes if you have images that are too different, it doesn't know how to blend the images well, and then it'll kind of just cut to the end bit where it quickly transforms to the second image. Whereas these two, I feel like besides the colors and the flow, it looks quite similar from like I don't know, a composition point of view. So then when it morphs across the two, when you join them again together at the end, they blend quite well, and I haven't really changed the speed or anything, and then it loops seamlessly, which is quite cool. So you can almost then input this into the sound model and generate a looping sound, potentially. I haven't tried that, but I reckon that will work quite well because at the moment you've got two separate sounds where it kind of starts, goes up in volume and drops off twice, and then it makes the loop very obvious. But if you regenerate the sound with the new video, you'll get something a bit more seamless, I think.
Oh, okay, cool.
I guess it's my tip. And then in terms of looping the first frame and the second, then the last frame, I think only Vio and Luma Ray have the option of putting in the first and the last frame. I think Pika might as well, but I feel like Pika is a bit hit and miss. It has some really cool results, but Pika actually started more for like a social media first format. So when I first started using Pika, it generated a lot quicker than when I used, what's the other ones? The runway. So I used to love runway generations because they were really beautiful, really cinematic. You'd use runway if you're wanting something that you want control over the camera angle, you want something in terms of the light filter or the lens that you want to use. You can be really prescriptive down to the type of camera, the angle you want to shot, the speed ramp, like all of those technical words that you would use in describing how you want something to be shot. You can do that in runway, which I think is so good, and you get a lot better cinematic results. Pika, because it's social media first, it's I feel like when I first started using Pika when they just launched, they were really good in terms of the speed and the quality at the start. But I think because there's so many different competitors, they ended up going down like the viral trend route. So they had a lot of presets where you can like get something smashed and like something explodes and it turns into something else. So very quick attention seeking type of viral, trendy type of content. So as you can see, when I put in the first and second shot, it didn't really listen to me, and it kind of gave me a lot of, how would you say that? It's kind of like a lot happening at the same time. And I guess that's the point of this model. It's trying to grab attention. But if you are really prescriptive with it, you kind of get some really beautiful movements as well, because the way the model worked, you still get really great image. But I think it can lean towards the attention grabby route. And because the start and the end that I've inputted don't match, I can't loop these. So another way of doing it is I can potentially pause the video right at the end, do a screenshot of it, and then use that as an input if I really liked this one, for example. I say, oh, I really love this half of the transition. I wish it can continue. So I would stop it on this, screenshot a good high quality res version of this, like maybe make it bigger, and then input that into the final output and then connect them that way.
And sorry, just
Yeah.
to jump in with a question. Manny had a
Mm,
question about, I think, the previous one you were talking about, but I
yeah.
think it relates to all of these. Are you
Yeah.
putting in any prompts, any particular prompts in while you're doing this? They specifically asked, and thanks for the question, Manny. Did
Mm.
you tell it to have movement, like be like a firework or be like a shower or something like
Yeah,
that?
so some of them I would say, like if I just want really slow movements and I know between the two, so sometimes I pick two images really, really closely related because I want to be really prescriptive. I want the result to be exactly how I want it to come out. Like I wanted a turntable where it just rotates a little bit and then the flowers change. So that way I would kind of give it some prompting to say, use turntable motion, slow motion, um, kind of give it some framework. Others, like where I'm wanting it to be creative in a sense, sometimes I put less. So then it gives me more variety. And then you get a bit more, like if I know I'm going to try a couple of generations, I might do that. And then you can also use no prompts and then just see what you get, which sometimes is quite cool as well. But if you have a result in mind, I would definitely recommend being prescriptive with your words. But the only thing to be mindful is if you're wanting some of like the unexpected things, like for this one, I didn't say much. It just kind of gave me these drips because I mentioned drips and paints and things. So it didn't loop as nicely because there's that jump cut. See how it kind of jumps because the
Yeah.
background didn't match. So maybe the next one I could say the background is blending more naturally or smooth transitions, those type of words to help it along.
Mm.
Whereas this one just kind of happened naturally to blend a lot better. Yeah.
And I know this was a thing at the beginning, like prompting. I remember seeing people selling prompt packs on eBay and
Yeah.
stuff. Do you keep a like a repository of like
At the
descriptive words that
start,
work,
I
or do
did.
you? Yeah,
Yeah, at the start, I had like a Google sheet where I had like maybe 100 different types of words that I've used that I really like to get consistent styling because it wasn't something you can preset. It wasn't something you can dictate to
yeah,
say, keep this style without having to describe it. So for consistency, I needed similar wording to get similar color schemes and the right color shades to color match if I'm using different models to generate things. And then also with I guess now, because I've kept a record of a lot of the images I've generated over the years, I can use those as the prompt as part of it. So then I don't need to give it any direction in terms of the color schemes or the lighting because that's already preempted. But the movement, the type of transition, I think I did a lot more research in terms of learning the angles of the camera or how I want the camera to follow the object. And Runway actually has an amazing thing that they do. Um, I think you can download like a pack where it's got all the different descriptions to show you like a low, high angle, what it looks like. So then you can use those to help you prompt some of the video outputs. And then I think when I looked at VO 3.1 and Ray, I just kind of wanted a quick comparison because there wasn't something I've used before, especially the Google VO one, which I thought the results looked really good. So in the thing it said, it's quite good for high resolution, realism, integrated audio, while Ray is more for motion dynamic and rapid generation. But I remember using Luma when it first came out as well on my mobile phone. It had more of like a 3D turntable. It had like the radar type of setup, so it could imagine the form in 3D really well. So I used that when I had maybe a 3D model that I wanted to rotate or wanted to see different type of movements around. So I think now like the models change a lot. So it's probably shifted from that. But in terms of the natural motions, the results are still very good. Quite happy with it.
yeah. Cool.
And then
And
so
all of
then
these, just for people that might not be familiar, you can access all of these different, like different models within Firefly, which is cool, which is super cool. Just having them all in one spot makes it nice and easy. So you don't have to go and log in and sign up and do all that sort of stuff. You can just do everything within Firefly boards.
Yeah, so when you generate a video, you can just select the image that you like. And then So this is probably the limitation depending on some models, because you might be really prescriptive in terms of a social media post where you need a vertical setup, or if you're, making a film and you need some B-roll or some background just to extend something, that might be widescreen option. And then from here you can add your reference images from the board or directly from your PC, and then you can write the description and generate. But the thing is, these ones that I've generated separately is because they don't have the first and last frame. But I thought I'd still test them using the same prompt for all of them. So florals, paint suspended midair, floating and moving beautifully, splatters and drips, anti-gravity. I just wanted to see what it would do with the exact same prompt. If we play this one, oh, maybe frozen. Okay. Like, this looks really good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Clean, very clean, very nice.
There's
And
so
then,
many now. Like, I didn't realize there were so many different models. Like, I don't even know what Kling 2.5 Turbo is. Sounds like a
well,
car.
so another thing to remember, when I used to use Runway off their actual web page, like depending on the length of the video you export, it took up different credits. And my tip for that is depending, because some of them you can choose 4 seconds, 8 seconds. I think some of them are like, yeah, Sora was like up to 12 seconds. The more time you give each model, the more room it has to go a bit crazy and a bit wild. So if you really want something to be thrown at you that you don't like, kind of lucky dip, go for the longer time. But just know that the last few seconds, you're probably not going to be able to use them because it's going to go really weird or really wild.
Right.
But then if you do the smaller exports, you have a lot more control and you use less credit. That way, it's less like, if you're risk adverse and you just want to be able to kind of have a storyboard in mind, you want each frame to be exactly as you are, my suggestion will be to go for the shorter time frame because the results are less wild and random. But yeah, Sora
cool.
can go up to 12 seconds, which I thought was crazy. Because before, when I first started using these, some of them were like 4 seconds is like the longer version, and then you get like
Right.
2 seconds at the start. So
Yeah.
if you look at Mare, okay, so Mare is like Firefly in the sense that they're commercially safe. So you can use this with clients because the data and things are trained with commercially safe items.
Right.
And this one, so I always like to compare the different models when you have the same prompt, because then you kind of know how much weight it gives certain words. Like,
Yeah.
some of the times when I say splatter and drips, you might not give me, or you might give me one big droplet. Like, it just allows you to compare how literal it takes certain words, or it's able to understand the general vibe you're giving it rather than word for word, which I think is important.
Yeah, and it's great. Like, it's great to understand the limitations and like the advantages and disadvantages of each different kind of model.
Yeah, and like I said, Runway kind of goes towards the cinematic side, so it only gives you the wide landscape view,
Yeah.
but like the finishes are really nice.
Oh wow.
It's
A
a
lot of
beautiful.
frames it seems in that one. Like, it
And like this
seems.
one, I didn't give it any camera angle. It's just the same one. So it was a bit more creative compared to these ones. So it's kind of got a bit more movement. So I think Sora is the one where it kind of like gave me random stuff. Like, it will zoom in and like give me these cross cuts, which I think is really cool. But it's not what I asked. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
it's
can hear the
interesting.
sound.
I did hear a little bit of sound actually then. I
Yeah.
think there's something coming out of your speakers a little bit, came through the mic. But
Yeah. So
yeah, it was interesting you talking yesterday about like just there's kind of the happy accidents
yeah.
way of using AI. And I know that you said you even like going back to some of the older versions because it's a little bit more chaotic, and maybe
Yeah.
you want it to start doing a little bit more out of the box thinking and do
Mm-hmm.
things that you're not planning on doing, because that's a great idea generator kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is very different to, I know what I want and I'm trying to get it to do exactly what I am imagining in my head, which is what I would think a lot of the time is where I would go. But it's really interesting thinking about those different use cases.
Yeah, no, so I probably prefer the random lucky dip type of result.
Yeah, it's
And I was like,
cool.
oh, this is so cool. Like this one, because it's like the fast model potentially, like it gave me so many splatters, which is not what I want. But I was like, oh, it's cool if I added more volume of stuff to it. Like I don't like the random splatters in the background. But the Sora one, for example, caught me off guard because it gave me like all these different other aspects that I didn't think about. And I was like, oh, this turned out really amazing. But
Yeah.
the start frame doesn't match my original image either. So it's like, oh, where did this
Oh,
come
right.
from?
It's
So
just doing its
sometimes
own thing.
sometimes it will take the information from the image and actually just give you something different, which is harder to control, but again, like nice surprises.
Yeah.
This one I actually used my 3D render from Blender and just to see like what kind of textures or things I would get. I think this one I used. This one's Runway. Like it gives you
Right.
so much more cinematic feel. Like it's a lot more clever because maybe the model it's being trained on, you get a more beautiful finish, I feel.
You're getting an
Whereas
Panther in the background there.
like for Sora, like it's changed the composition.
Oh, wow.
I feel like
Yeah.
Sora's stuff looks more like an ad. Like it's trying to
Totally.
do a
That's what it
little,
is. It's
yeah,
like an ad.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like very not formula based, but you can kind of see like the very short form ads where you get like snippets of the different angles and then they join them together and then
It's
it kind of
exactly what it
like
is.
you want to put
Yeah.
some words on the front for like an intro or something. I think it'll be great if you want this as like your YouTube intro or something. You can
I
do
was
this quite
thinking
quickly.
it was reminding me of like an abstract intro to a show, like a TV
Yeah,
show. That's
yeah,
kind of the same sort of thing.
yeah.
Like it was almost like the Game of Thrones. Like I know it's totally different vibe,
Mm.
but the way that it was showing really close up
Yeah, 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 yeah.
things with the focus on the
Yeah,
background, and you're part of this like much larger environment, but it's just showing you these different cinematic camera angles with
yeah,
different focal points.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, time lapse. Let's go to some more interesting stuff. So then because it did really well with one of my 3D models, I thought I'd try so this is a 3D model I drew. So it's like a 3D program that you can actually hand draw. So I made a chrysanthemum, but it's like a infinite symbol and then actually rotates like a turntable. And then as it changes, it's got the 4 seasons that I embedded into it. So it's like a longer animation. I just kind of wanted to see what it would do with these model because the details are really intricate. Like it's like an X-ray of the 3D model. I wanted to see if it could pick up that. So Sora, for example, it changed the flower completely, like a different flower.
Oh wow,
But
that's so
it did
cool.
the turntable movement, which I thought was interesting. Video, I think I forgot to change the thing, but it like added some sparkles and some music. So this one where I think it didn't really work well. Like I can really quickly animate this 3D model, but I think if you wanted to see maybe the different color schemes that you can change with this might be a good way to visualize that.
Yeah, it's cool. That first one looked perfect. Like it looked like a 3D
Mm.
model
It
of the
the
flower.
result is exactly what I prompted, but then when I put my
Right.
image in, it didn't link it as closely as I thought it would. Maybe if I played around with the prompts a bit better, it'll kind of give me what I originally animated. But again, like I think with AI, if you go in with the exact result in mind, it's actually really hard to execute. Like I won't be
Right.
able to create my actual animation that I created with this on a 3D model using AI because not so much a limitation, but the tweaks that's required to get the output of exactly what you need is actually really hard and really prescriptive.
Yeah.
And then this one is some old AI images where I thought it looked similar. So these are potentially good images that you can connect together if you were trying to do animation and loops. So this one, I think sometimes you still get like maybe a jump, but it's quite cool seeing how.
Is there like a bubbling sound in the
Yeah,
background? I
there's a
heard just very
bubbling sound.
subtly, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So I think, again, these two, I thought the landscape looked similar. Maybe it'll transition quite nicely, but it kind of just jumped to it. So I think playing around with the different backgrounds and the different colors, it helps with the transition. So this one's a bit better. It's not as jumpy. This one I played around with the different models because I actually really like this type of like pixelated image. I don't want a real landscape because it's AI. I want it to look AI. And so I think I kept a lot of these type of finishes where you've got like a mix of different mediums technically within the image. And I think some of them are like happy accidents that I like kind of kept. I wasn't sure how the video models would react. So I put them in the different models just to see. This one, I feel like the results didn't give it a good result because my bad prompting, because I was limited in time. I was like, oh, ink or landscape or whatever. So you kind of just did like some minor texture because I focused on some of the ink lines. This one, because I mentioned smoke, like it became really smoky.
Yeah, super smoky it went. Yes, smoke. I can do smoke.
Yeah, and then this one is like, have 3 puffs of smoke.
All right.
But like
there was a question which I might just throw in now, which was if you had to pick or prioritize a single model right now, which would you choose?
I think if I were to make stuff for social media and I wanted a pretty consistent result, I'd go with was it the VO, the first one that I used? VO 3.1 fast, because this one gave me pretty consistent results, and it also had sound. But if I were to kind of use it as part of my workflow to get certain details, or I wanted to experiment with something a bit more cinematic, I feel like Runway is still my go-to because of just the way it finishes. I think that's maybe my top 2 at the moment. And then if I were to just experiment purely to play around and have fun, Sora I'd put in there just to see if I get some random outputs. This one was pretty consistent, nothing crazy.
The water text always surprised me at how good it is.
Yeah. Well, I chose this one because it's like half-half. It's got some illustrative elements and then some realistic elements. I just wanted to see how it combined the two because whereas this one kind of like I'll just move down and then keep the two very separate. Whereas this one, I think, again, it kept the line, nothing really happening up the top. But I think you can be a bit more prescriptive. The prompt wasn't very good for this one.
Cool.
Let me move to... so this one I used, I think I shared this collage in one of our older streams of how I kind of collated them and kind of did a collage and then blended them together. But using the different models, you can see that the results are all pretty good actually. I wanted to see how good, once I started putting people in there to see if the movements were realistic, how it interacted with the environment around it, and then how it deal with like different type of color schemes and lighting, because it's like quite surreal. This one kind of gave me a whole mountain, but I thought the way it's like, this is Pika. Yeah. I can tell because it's like, it's very social media. Like just chuck everything in, see what happens. So you get some really crazy end results with Pika because they're trying to get the views maybe for social media clicks and type of thing. So it's like geared towards kind of very dramatic finishes, whereas Runway, again, like it's a lot more cinematic. You've got like I haven't prompted the floating flowers or things, but I think maybe I used the word romantic and then it kind of gave me that. But it's really interesting how each one interpreted the same prompt.
Yeah.
But this one turned out really nice, like clean.
It's interesting. It's doing the camera pull thing, like how you're zooming in on a dolly to change the perspective quickly, right? Like it's so interesting.
Like,
and you've got the people walking up the stairs as well.
Yeah. The Sora gave you really random bits. Like it zoomed in on parts and kind of gave you different interesting angles. If you want something more creative, I think Sora, while you can still use it.
While you can.
Yeah, while you can. I don't know if they'll pull it out. So then, because I started using people, I was like, I don't have many people images. It'll be really interesting
wow.
to see how it does. So this was a like a Photoshop collage thing I did for someone's sample album cover, which wasn't released. So I was like, oh, I can use this. But if you have one image, for example, and you wanted to make a video from one image, my tip is you can actually use the built-in functions. Can you see you can click vary? So I did more like this, keep style and keep subject, and these are the 3 groups, which kind of gave you some variety, but it kind of changed everything. But you can kind of see this one was keep subject, so it just gave me a girl. More like this, very similar aesthetic. It's got a girl with the flowers and the water. Keep style was more like color scheme, but it gave me some random results. And again, I feel like using things directly through the Firefly boards, it might be maybe using an older model because the generations don't look as nice. But because of, I think you get like so many generations in one go, it might be using like a fast model. So you're better off doing a separate prompt with this as a style guide to get a couple variations. So this one, I then use Nano Banana because it's really good at changing positions to give me different angles. So then I have 2 images to work from. So I could do a transition of the girl turning from this angle to this, if I think it looks quite seamless. And then that way you can get her just looking down, holding the flower, compared to the model imagining something based on prompt alone. So you're giving a bit more information. So these ones were done without any end frame. So I didn't use any end frame. I just used the 4 different models to compare what it will do. I think I put like girl blinking, water, maybe branches swaying, or something very generic to see what it would do with the image itself. And you can kind of see, I think I also put motion blur because of the effect I had in Photoshop. I wanted it to kind of keep that type of style and not go too wild. So this one didn't really go crazy, maybe because I was very prescriptive in this, whereas previously Sora kind of gave you all those different angle cuts and different chops and changes. But I thought all of these turned out really cool. Like this one gave me so much movement.
You know what this reminds me of, because you said it was an album cover for something, is when Spotify plays like 5-6 second looping parts. So if there's like a video clip to it, they clearly put just a looping thing of them singing the song live or part of their video clip or something. And I mean, if you're an indie band or something, like, hey, really, here's a bunch of these. You can put it on Spotify so that you have an animated version, not just a static version. Makes you look a little bit, you know.
Sometimes I listen to songs, I was like, oh, I could make like a really cool one for them because maybe they ran out of time doing the album cover. So this one I used Nano Banana too, and I used the preset. So in the preset, you can use change pose. So I used change pose, and it gave me a couple of really cool ones. I thought this angle would be really cool to transition.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Between the first and the second one, because then I can prompt her looking out into the water. So it gave me a lot more movement. And then using the first image and this image, I can get stuff like this.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
I know. And like the girl looks a bit different, but some of them look really cool.
Just think about it from a storyboard perspective. I remember there was a guy who came in when I was a graphic design student, because he could sketch really quickly. And so his whole job was to sit like in an advertising agency and sketch out the storyboards while they were kind of ideating. So he'd do like 4-hour workshop sessions with the client and then the advertising agency and just sketch everything out. It's just incredible that you could do this so quickly.
I know.
Especially with like, keep the tone, but give me 20 different angles, or, you know, like you can imagine planning a music video or something like that. We could say, we do one shoot that's outside, we do one shoot that's the band live, that's in a garage or whatever, and then we do one shoot that's something else, shoot them all and then mix them together so it's jumping and changing. That's how like half the music videos ever have been made. You'd storyboard it out in an afternoon.
You can probably get like a 50% version to really visualize like the colors that you want, the story behind it, and then kind of link them. Like this
Yeah.
one, I used the same process as the first one to loop. So I picked the first image of the girl looking to the side, the second one of her looking up, and then I changed another prompt where the first image is the girl looking up and the second one is her looking to the side again. And then I joined them just on reels, and then you get this.
Wow.
And then it kind of turned into a mermaid, but then she kind of
Turned into a
comes back
mermaid.
down.
Why not?
Yeah. So I think it's really fun to play with these like transitions and just kind of
Yeah.
reimagining one of your still images into new ways. Like this is super cool.
That's awesome.
So I thought I'd go. Like, I think at the start you mentioned comparing how much the AI models have improved. I found like some older AI generated photos. So this one, for example, has like 6 fingers. Pretty sure.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
And then I was like, oh, I wonder what it will do animating this. And then when I used the preset to change positions, it fixed the hands for me.
Oh wow.
I'm like, it's so clever now. And then this one was like a preset for like a candid photo. So they took the girl and just like made it like a candid photo preset. I was like, oh, there's no, like, it's quite good. Like, it kept her features quite consistently. But then animating and like even fixed my fingers when she lifted it up. Because I thought I'd give it a challenge, something with hands. And I was like, oh, the hands still look pretty good.
That's interesting that it's corrected the.
Yeah, like Sora. I think this one's Sora. Like it doesn't even look like the original.
Yeah.
It's like bubble. It's just a girl in a bubble in space.
Wow.
Very creative, but not what I asked for.
Yeah.
So, like sometimes I guess you just have to experiment a bit
Maybe it's
more.
seen the bubble like and thought that it was a space helmet kind of thing.
Yeah. But you can kind of see like the more you play around with it, the more variations you're going to get with the results until you find one that really matches what you're looking for. I actually found, I think, a couple of videos generations that I did from 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I think when video models first came out, I tried to animate this thing. And then just having the material in the sky move for a few seconds, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then, I think this is from like 2 or 3 years ago when it first came out. So the quality isn't very good, but still I was like mind blown. I was like from, a still to an image. And then now like with something similar, you get so much detail in the movement, like the transparency, like the material, the fabric. Like I was like, holy moly, like just the difference in a couple of years is really crazy.
Yeah.
I think even with this,
because I think Firefly even launched with, if I remember correctly, there was the typography that you could do. There was text to image, and then it was video coming soon. Because I remember so many people asking me, like, what's the GOS? When's it coming out? I said, I don't know. I've got no idea. I've got no insider trading knowledge on this.
These are 3-year-old Luma ones.
Right.
I think at the start, you can just like project the angle a bit. So even this AI image was just like no arms. But at that time, it was like, wow, you can really see the scale of it. Like it made it more 3D. This one as well. I think it was like a pan that made it look a bit more real. So it wasn't even really a video model at the time. I think it was more just like they used 3D type of projection to get that sense of movement.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 years, maybe 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Crazy difference.
Yeah, I think it'd be closer to 3 from launch. So we kind of talked about like, I think social media is like really obvious kind of one. I think we mentioned yesterday, much more minor, but like a Zoom background or, even display ads, like the ads that you see online for smaller brands and things like that.
Yeah.
But are there any other use cases you can think of for this technique or anything that you've used it for?
I think mostly social media, but I've done it a bit more where I wanted to make a more long form video, and then I needed some filler bits. So you can use
Oh yeah.
your maybe still images and kind of quickly get a B-roll video. So like you said yesterday during our stream for the ceramic stuff, sometimes people are so into making something they forget to take behind the scene videos.
Yeah.
But if you have a photo of your hand holding the ceramic piece or during the making process, even if it's on a video, potentially you could get a couple seconds really good footage of, like, I don't know, touching it or something. So that's stuff that you're not trying to like fake making it, but kind of just gives you kind of brings a narrative together that, you know, during the process this is what the different steps look like, and it just brings a bit more movement rather than here are a couple of stills like a, you know, PowerPoint pack where you kind of click through. It gives you a bit more motion through those. Otherwise, I think I can also think of, like, you know, product photography. I think a lot of things that are still, you could animate, you can do turntable movements. I use 3D programs to do turntable stuff. Previously, I would have had to physically remodel it, project the image onto it to make it look realistic. Whereas now you can, you know, really quickly take a photo of that, put it into Photoshop, do the 3D rotational zoom to get the angle you want, and then you can really quickly put that into a background and then get some movement or sampling what it would look like in real life. For example, like people holding a mug or someone drinking coffee. I don't know, something with your own item in situ, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think this one, yeah, so this is a new one that I created with this original like 3-year-old image. It's like a bit pixelated, but like the effects is what I was really hoping to get in terms of movement. And then 3 years ago, this is what it looked like, and I was already like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's kind of using the cheap, that dolly zoom thing we were talking about before. Like it's using that perspective. You can almost do that. Like what is it? Like in animation where they draw a static image in animation, like it's a crowd shot or something, but they just pan and zoom a little bit to make it feel like it's animated to save money on actually animating everybody.
So you can look in here. So in the presets, there's actually a video preset. You can kind of do sweeping crane one or vertical lift, where it kind of gives you some of the prompts, but it's limited to the 2 models. So if you were really specific and you can just say what you want, you can do that in all of the different models. But I think the hack is probably if you just had one image that you wanted to animate, you use some of the, you know, change pose or different restyling or different versions of the same image to give you a couple of different angles that you previously wouldn't have, and then you can link them in the video format, so then you can have a bit more control with your results.
Yeah, that's cool. It's just changing all the time. I didn't even know those presets existed like that.
Actually, this one is one that I shared previously where I physically animated it, but then also used AI. I think this was an old AI animation. I wanted to see how it would change between one image to another, and then it just rotated it to the second image, which isn't what I was really looking for. But at the time I was like, oh, this is really clever, because I liked the lo-fi-ness of it, because the image itself was kind of painterly but also pixelated, and I liked the finish. And then yesterday I tried the same image, which is this one, and I think the prompt I used, I gave it a background and some water in the foreground, and then it like made it look a lot more realistic with like the birds flying, the clouds passing. Yeah, so I was like, very, very cool. Yeah.
Nice.
I think
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. We squeezed a lot in. But I did a lot of exports just so people can, I guess, compare some of the models without having to kind of try each individual one, because it is quite time consuming doing each one and then comparing if you don't have the right images or if you don't have the right prompts. This way, really quickly, you can compare what might suit your art style more or what might suit your purpose better, and then try that.
Totally. And I think, I mean, it's just amazing again how far it's come, and just reiterating this is like a live document. It's just so interesting for me as a designer of a certain vintage, of just like everything. Anytime you log in, there could be well, this app is no longer available, or now there's these new ones that can do something with a completely different end goal or USP. And I don't know, I always find Firefly boards really amazing how you've got all these videos embedded and you can zoom in, zoom out, and scale them up and down, and it looks good on the live stream. This is crazy because the golden rule of live streaming is the frame rates never match. But I don't know why it works really well. But anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't lag. It's amazing.
It doesn't lag. You've got what, like 100 videos in there or something? It's crazy.
And they're all pretty big files, some of them, like especially like the original like 3D renders and things. They're just originals that I just drop in.
Yeah, because in the back of my, like the bottom of my heart, I feel like it's just going to crash at one point, and it never does. So
yeah, surprisingly well.
It's my producer head thinking this actually shouldn't work, but somehow it does. Anyway. Well, that's incredible. Thank you so much for taking us through that. As always, there's always new things that I hadn't considered, like when we go through these projects and talk about it together, and just the breadth of different, apps that we have access to, and different models and things like that. For those that missed yesterday, Joy also took us through the very new being able to train your own model based on your work as well, which I think is super, super interesting. And I promise I'll put the link to that at the bottom of this as soon as we get off this stream. So if you're watching this on demand, you made it all the way to the end, go and check that out, because that's, I think, a very interesting future for creatives, of creating your own artwork and then like kind of using AI. Yeah, you have it displayed here. Let me just switch back over. But yeah, it's a quick little look. You made 5. Obviously, you guys can go and watch that in detail. We spoke about it for a long time, and Joy demonstrated use cases and all sorts of stuff. That was really cool. I really like that. I think it's like Firefly boards when it first came out. I'm like, I really have a good feeling about this. I think we're going to be looking at this for a long time, and I feel like training on your own work or a client's work or your agency's work is going to be a big deal.
I feel like it's almost, when you use Adobe Express, or certain clients have their brand packs. So instead of having a brand pack, you have a like specific model that you train based on the assets of the company or the brand or your personal style. And then you can actually share that model so that, whatever they export, whether it's, backgrounds or certain things, everything's going to be consistent with all the other images, and that it's, based on the original files.
That's what we should change the title to, like, destroy, like, brand guidelines are dead. The future is large language models. That'll ruffle some feathers, I'm sure.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a really interesting point. We could talk about it forever. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Joy, for your stream today and your stream yesterday, taking us all through all this stuff. I'm sure next time we have you back on, there'll be a whole bunch of new things to explore, and I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you